The lessons I've learned in my own life that I've found most valuable when it comes to shaping my characters, be honest. One of my first acting teachers in high school, he would always say in class, to be honest is to tell the truth. If you don't believe what you're saying, it's not the truth. So be honest. Like, the only thing that comes out of a lie is heartache and regret. So just tell the truth and let the person across from you deal with it. I try to do that all the time and use those lines, making them real and telling the truth to the person across from me.
Woo.
I'm Anthony Mackie, and this is my Essence digital cover. When I look back on my career, the most defining moment personally, was actually very early on. One of my first jobs was $1 Million Baby. Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman, who took my role. I auditioned for that role. Growing up in my house, it was like Martin Luther King, Jesus, Bruce Lee, and Clint Eastwood. The pinnacle tree of man, and Malcolm X. When I did $1 Million Baby, I bought the posters for the Man with No Name trilogy, and I had them sign them for my dad. Framed them, brought them home. And at the end of a work day, my dad would have all of his workers come around, and they would sit around the shop on a Friday and have beers. And I'd never had a beer with my dad. Anybody, who knew my dad was the Anheuser-Busch of New Orleans. And when I gave my dad his posters, and my dad looked at me and was like, "You know Clint Eastwood?" I said, "Yeah, I did a movie with him. I got him to sign the posters." And he goes in the cooler, and he gave me a beer. He said, "You all right, boy." I would like for my work to inspire young actors and storytellers in the way of training. My first day in New York, my very first day, before I started Juilliard, when my brother brought me up here, I was sitting down with my brother at a cafe, and Wynton Marsalis walked past us. And I jump up, I run over to Wynton, I'm like, "Wynton, I'm a homeboy, bro. Like, I'm from the 7th Ward, I went to NOCA." He pulled out a pen, and as classy as Wynton Marsalis always is, he cool, write down his number and give me the paper. He goes, "Look, homeboy, you need anything, you let me know." So I called Wynton a few days later, and we went over to the basketball courts on 65th Street, and he proceeded to bust my ass in basketball, which was outstanding. But he told me something very important that I've always held true. He said, to be is to study. He said when he left New Orleans, he could play jazz better than anybody. He could play second line street music better than anybody. But coming to Juilliard gave him the opportunity to learn so many different composers and so many different types of music that no matter what you hit him with, you could do it. Your training is the platform from which you jump off to create characters. And I've always rocked with that. And going to Juilliard taught me so much. I mean, reading so many different writers and, listening to Tupac as well as Stravinsky. Like, listening to Chopin as well as, Diggable Planets. When you learn your art form and your expressive status, it really gives you the freedom to do whatever you want. So you can't be pigeonholed. You can't be put in a place where you can only play gangsters, or you can only play the good guy, or you can only play the love interest. Like, you can do whatever you want to do. And I think that comes with training and discipline. When young actors look at me, I want them to know I've trained 13 years hardcore. I went to boarding school and gave up my last 2 years of high school. I went to Juilliard and gave up my entire college experience and everything I thought college would be for that one opportunity to play Tupac and Up Against the Wind off Broadway. And that comes with training, because after playing Tupac, I came back and I played Martin Luther King. And not too many people can do that. Not too many people can do off-Broadway, Broadway, independent theater, as well as major motion pictures. And all of that comes with training. All of that started at NOCA, from North Carolina to Juilliard. A personal mantra that's always guided me was something my brother told me. My brothers, both of them, have always been a huge influence in my life. I am the living example of a village raising a knucklehead. And my brother would always tell me, in the race of life, when you find out you're behind, you have two options. You can run faster or quit. And our daddy didn't raise quitters. When he told me that, it was like the Rocky music came on. And every time I have something that, you know, I have to face or something that I feel is gonna be difficult, you know, I think about that. I think about what my grandfather went through being a sharecropper. I think about what my dad went through dropping out of school in 8th grade to work with my grandfather, becoming a successful businessman and roofer. What my brother went through when he went to law school at USL, and what my other brother went through when he got his PhD at Georgia Tech. And that didn't leave much room for error and failure, you know? So I decided to run faster.